Okay, here we go.
Do we have taglines?
Oh, yes, we do. Yep. You ready for this?
Yeah.
These are fun. Okay, so starting off, this year, he really is coming to town.
That's like selling it like he isn't
just
real.
didn't really before this.
Like, the kids read that tagline and they're like, what do you mean? He's always been coming to town.
No, not yet. Because this is the 13th century. And he didn't start till the 14th century.
Right? It's like, oh, okay.
Right?
Except I can't read Roman numerals.
Number 2, guess who's coming to town.
Pretty sure it's going to be Santa Claus.
Right, because that's the name of the movie. Next, the legend comes to life.
Okay, this is another one where it's like, if there were children that were reading that tagline, they'd be like, isn't he already alive?
Right? What do you mean legend?
It's like that's kind of popping that bubble.
Well, they're also like, well, we can do this because kids can't read this.
Yeah. We assume.
Right? Seeing is believing.
That's a cheap one. That was a throwaway one.
I mean, we've seen...
Wasn't that the one for Casper?
Right. I was going to say that, too. We've seen this a million times before.
Yeah.
And I still don't believe it.
It works better with ghost movies.
Right? Okay. From the team who brought the 3 Superman blockbusters to the screen comes a story to stir the imagination and warm the heart.
I wouldn't brag about that.
No. The first 2, yes, but not Superman 3 with Richard Pryor.
I was like,
And the same director after that did Supergirl.
Oh.
With our girl, Helen Slater from Billie Jean.
Yay.
She's Supergirl. Yep.
Oh, I love Helen Slater.
Yeah, I wouldn't brag about Superman 3 or Supergirl, though. But it does look like that style, which we'll get into.
Oh, it really does.
And then, Santa Claus. The spirit of Christmas. But who is he really?
I don't know, and I've been asking that for years.
He's
I'm glad
a strange
someone's finally
man.
addressing this problem of who is Santa.
Strange man who's obsessed with your children. Who is he really? Could he be your neighbor? Could he be a... He
seems so kind and polite. I couldn't believe he'd ever do something like
Tonight
that.
on Dateline. Santa Claus, the man, the myth, your neighbor?
The legend comes to life.
With a budget of $50 million, a gross of $23.7 million, which means it was a complete flop at the box office, an IMDb score of 6.1, 17% rotten, with 1 extremely long beard carried by 6 elves, 8 over-animated animatronic reindeers, 2 montages, 2 major scenes of product placement by McDonald's, Coke, and Pabst Blue Ribbon, a wooded assembly line toy-making machine, 1 flying elf DeLorean, and superpowered flying candy. It's 1985's Santa Claus, the movie. Let's drop some bombs.
Hey, yo, hold it! Hey, yo, you trying to look at my lumps? I'll pull off my G-string and handle mine.
Gobble, gobble, motherfucker.
Who's your daddy? Oh, God, I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. I'm your daddy. Ah!
It's nice having her on board. She's a breath of fresh ass.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bring it out on March 25th, and we'll call it Christmas 2!
Welcome to Bombs Away, the only podcast recorded inside a projection booth. My name is Jonathan Young. Joining me in the studio, as always, is...
I'm Jarrett Seifert, and I'm that wooden toy you got 20 years after technology started taking hold, so, like, what's the point?
Every toy in this movie, like, I mean, it's like, they were like, oh, yeah, kids still appreciate wooden
Everyone
toys.
loves wood.
No. Well, okay. I'm going to ask right here, right now, where did they get their supply of wood for this movie?
Well, didn't he say he's like, oh, I got to put in the order soon.
He did say that
who's shipping
by
it?
the end of the movie. Okay, this movie asks it's like they sat a bunch of kids down in a room and was like, what questions do you have about Santa Claus? And literally every single kid just asked every single thing, and they're like, I guess we got to answer these questions.
And that's the entire first 2/3 of the movie.
Yeah.
Answering who Santa Claus is.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And this is a movie that's like, hey, if your parents don't have time to tell you about Santa Claus,
yeah,
and they were literally like, Santa's coming, and you're like, who's Santa? And they're like, watch this movie. That's
I've
the
got
movie
something
for
old
you.
to show you.
Right? Something so old that every scene that's filmed in the North Pole looks like somebody rubbed Vaseline all over the lens.
I don't know what kind of camera they were using, but it was not a good kind.
It was so hazy. And like, I don't know, they were opening up an aperture or something, because like every single bit of candlelight was like right in your eyes.
Love it.
It's so warm and welcoming, right? So is Santa in his Twister outfit.
Okay.
He looked like he was wearing a giant Twister mat.
It did. I was like, why is Santa dressed as a clown on his off days? I
gotta go on a diet.
So our movie starts off, and it's like, I don't even know what year it is. Like I said, I can't read Roman numerals. It's really confusing. And if it takes me, like, if I have to translate letters into numbers.
It was XIV. That's what it said on the hourglass. XIV. So it's the 14th century.
Okay. Not just the 14th. It's the 14th.
Yeah. It's the 14th.
Okay. So we start off in the 14th century, and Santa's like, well, he's not Santa yet. His name is
still Santa Claus.
Still Santa. What's his wife's name? Like Gertrude?
Anya.
Anya. That's it.
Gertrude. You're like, what is the ugliest name I could possibly think of?
It's true.
Yeah. No. Okay. This is the weird thing, is that when, and I'm probably gonna. I thought he was Father Time, but it's actually the ancient elf, like the ancient one.
Yeah.
Right? The one with the giant mile-long beard that, like, that's gross, by the way. Like, he has other elves holding it and, like, wrapping it around their hand.
Ooh.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
They were just dragging it along. Could you imagine if one guy tripped and it's just like, oh, God.
Or, like, someone stepped in reindeer poop and was like, oh, shit, I stepped on his beard.
Yeah, sorry, Ancient One.
Just let him think he dragged his beard through it.
So the Ancient One says later on in the film, he goes, he mentions that you henceforth shall be known as Santa Claus, right? And it's like, no, literally the kids are like, where the fuck is Santa? Like, there's a giant blizzard outside, and all these kids are like, let's go, get on with it. The one by the window is like, he ain't coming.
He's like, Santa's really boring. Why do we wait?
Right? Meanwhile, to cure the boredom, there is a woman that is telling a story.
Oh, yeah.
What
do they call the elves?
Oh, my God. Okay. This is...
Vendigums.
Yeah, the Vendigums. Right? Which is a completely made-up thing, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I tried to look for it, and anytime I searched Vendigum,
well,
this movie just came up.
10 minutes after the word, they call them Vendigums. They're like, actually, we prefer elves.
Right. That's a derogatory slur. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, he does.
Told you that, but they also go little people, and they go, we prefer elves. And I was like, oh, cool. They were like politically correct.
They're very progressive about it. Yeah, we're not gonna go with little people.
So we start out in 14th century. Like, the whole village is waiting in one house for Santa to come and deliver wooden dolls.
Which, okay, the whole concept of being like, I'm an old man and my wife that do not have children, can't have children of our own, right? Which is so heavy-handed in this movie. Like, every single chance they can get, it's like, remember, you can't have children, right?
Your balls don't work.
Yeah. And your idea is to make lifelike wooden carvings of things, like extremely lifelike, like to the point of creepy, right?
I like it. I don't.
And then just deliver that, because that's not toys, by the way.
Oh, no.
That's like something you give. I don't like. Here's a trophy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, but the kids are waiting for these wooden dolls, but they're not dolls.
They're hand carved.
Yeah, I guess so.
But also at that time, that kind of was a doll. You either had a wooden one or you stuffed it with hay.
I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm like, if that's what you're sitting around waiting for, and that's what you're actually giving, you're risking your life through this blizzard to give that.
It was the 14th century. He's lucky to have gotten gray hair.
No, it's not exactly gray. It's this dirty, like mud brown type of Santa, like beard through the whole movie. By the way, which, by the way, this is this Santa Claus is played by the Big Lebowski. Which I didn't know until looking this movie up. Side note, this movie has a very soft spot in my heart. Like, I grew up with this movie. I think I mentioned on a previous on the shorties that, yeah, sorry, Mom, you're probably going to get mad at this one. Because she would show us this, this movie. I was born in 83. This came out in 85. So by the time it hit cable, it was constantly on. And I'm pretty sure that we had the VHS. I'm positive we had the VHS. But every Christmas we'd watch this movie. And this is the kind of movie you can tell. It almost feels like it could have or should have been a musical.
Yeah.
Because it has like 3 or 4 like made up songs that you've never heard before, but seem like.
I think they just didn't want to get like in legal trouble.
I don't think you can on Christmas songs.
I don't know. They probably didn't know either, and they were like, well, let's not take the chance.
No, but there's a bunch of Christmas songs in this movie, like normal ones too.
Yeah.
Like all during the montage, the 14th century to now montage.
Maybe they just wanted to like make the next big Hollywood hit.
Yeah. But I just felt because like the songs in this are catchy, right? And as I'm watching this week, I was like, yeah, I remember all these songs, right?
Happy about it.
Yep. Happy Santa. Yep.
All I remember is the one that, like, whenever the credits started rolling, I then started getting ready, and I can't remember it now, but it was like, Christmas. I was like, oh.
Christmas time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just that one word. I was like, no.
Yep. But that's what this movie, like, it seems like they were like, okay, we're going to write this song and this song, and they're going to be hits. And it's like, if this movie had been a hit, I feel like these songs are good enough that they would have, like, kind of latched on. Kind of like, what is the last song that you can recall, Christmas-wise, that, like, has been a hit, that's latched on and we keep listening to it? Because I have my idea of what I think it is.
All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Mariah Carey?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's the one everyone loves.
Right. Nothing has latched since, right? And people are like, what about Christmas shoes? It's like, sorry.
What is Christmas shoes?
It's a Christian one. Yeah.
Well, that's why I don't know it.
Yeah. Yeah, you sacrilegious bastard. So, but
myself.
This is this movie also gives us these gigantic set pieces. That's why I think it was supposed to be this musical too. They spent so much money on this set, I feel. Like everything's made of wood. Every single thing. Okay? So
real intense.
Yeah. Long story short, Santa Claus delivers these toys to the children.
He's like, I gotta go to the next town.
Right.
And then they all die.
Right? They are dead. This whole movie, they're dead, right?
I'm pretty sure they died, and like they just kind of got
they live in
replaced.
Magic World now, right?
They're like, we'll make you immortal since you were trying to do something good.
Especially because if they were supposed to be in like Norway or something, right?
Yeah.
Speaking English in the 14th century, but if they were supposed to be there, you can't get from there to North Pole. Actually, you can't get from anywhere civilized to North Pole, right?
Yeah. Well, there was definitely like teleportation involved.
They definitely just died.
Yeah.
Then that was my point there.
Pretty sure they're dead.
They're dead, right? Because they pretty much freeze to death in the blizzard, or they fall asleep, right? All 4 of them, Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus, and Donner and Blitzen. I think that's the two.
The two.
Yeah. Donner and Blitzen, they get like
But we really only focus on Donner and his fear of heights.
fear of heights and his ability to cry on cue.
Yeah.
Did you see that?
I thought the reindeers were my favorite characters. I loved them. They looked so cool.
They were very cool. I just love it that they were like like all the time.
They looked really good for 1985
They definitely did. You can tell where the budget was spent in this movie, and it's the settings, it's the costumes, and it's these animatronics for sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they wake up and they see this like light coming from the North Star, and here comes Arthur, Dudley Moore, and a whole band of elves, and they're like, "What's up? So you're coming with us?" Because there's hardly any questions asked.
Yeah.
Right?
Everyone's just kind of like, all right.
Yeah. Like, there's one or two, but as soon as it's like the explanation is there, there's no follow-up.
Yeah.
Because all the explanations kind of, you're like, all right. It's, like I said, every single thing that they ask is just for explanation for whatever this child in this this room that they asked the questions when they were writing this script is what it seems like. So then they go and they see the workshop.
Were they just making toys for no point?
Right? Okay.
Why were they doing this?
Oh, okay. There's a thing about this, actually. See, I don't believe that a movie I don't believe that, you know, a lot of people will be like, well, if you read the novelization or you look at the comic book, and it's like, no, a movie should be able to stand on its own and explain itself without plot holes.
Yeah.
You know, and this movie doesn't. So, in the novelization, it actually explains what they've been doing for, how do I want to, like, for years, prior to this. It goes into explain that the Vendigums, before going on to, how do I put it? I'll just read it out to you, okay? So, the elves in the film are portrayed by legendary beings known as the Vendigums. According to Santa Claus the movie novelization, written by Joan DeVinge, the elves keep watch over all that happens in the world that borders their own magical realm, okay? The Vendigum are described as being extremely fond of children, since, after all, only children can see them due to the innocence of their youth. The elves are fond of making things for children, and so they often journeyed out into the children's world, leaving their newly crafted toys where children would find them. So they basically were like going around like delivering toys, just being like, there's a toy on the side of the street or something, right? So according to the novel, with the passing of each new century and as civilizations continued to rise and fall, it became more and more difficult and dangerous for the elves to venture too far out into the human world. Thus, the vast majority of the toys the elves made could not be given out and were left to gather dust in their magnificent storeroom, the Toy Tunnel.
Yeah, okay, cool.
So, I thought you were going to make a Toy Tunnel joke.
No. Oh, now that you said that, though.
There it is.
I won't.
All
I'll
right.
leave my butt out of this for once.
So, yeah, that basically describes that they've been making toys because they just like children, and they've been dropping them off for years, right? But I guess in the 14th century, they were like, shit's getting real out there.
These civilizations are rising and falling.
Right?
Oh, that's your excuse. All right, cool. Work.
But that's never explained in this movie. That's extremely elaborate, but also could probably be taken care of in like 2 sentences of dialogue.
Yeah.
Especially like when hanging out with, I don't know, Patch, which is Dudley Moore.
Ancient one, just being like, we've done this for centuries, but it got scary.
Yeah, right? Anything.
So we stopped.
Yeah, anything. Or the, who seems to be the head elf? The guy with like the side beards? Who's like,
I thought that was the ancient one.
No, the ancient one is the one that it's
Santa.
It's Burgess Meredith. I thought the ancient one for years was just Father Time.
Oh, okay.
Right? Because he comes in blue, he comes out of the light, he's basically looking like God, right? He's got like 3 people on each side carrying his beard. I was like, oh, Father Time.
That would make sense.
Right? But it's not.
Yeah.
Especially because he explains to him, because this is a movie, once again, that needs explanation, like any question that a child ever had, right?
Yeah.
So when Santa goes, how am I supposed to deliver all these toys in one night? He's like, listen, here's the deal.
Time follows you and you follow it.
Right? And redundancy follows this movie.
I was like, what did he just say? I don't know. Don't
Right?
focus.
It wasn't really explained how it should have been.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's the thing, is like time follows you and you follow it. Unless there's a homeless child that you need to go talk to, and then things are not paused
Then
or
it's
anything.
kind of like fun or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, we'll get to Joe, the New Yorker.
Santa gets established, and it goes through like a montage of, I guess, him learning about the elves and also becoming Santa, and it's basically like every small thing about like, well, why is Santa's outfit red? Well, because they tried a green one, then they were like, red's more his color, and that was it.
That's it.
And then like, how do the toys get painted? Well, the elves use their beards to paint the toys, and I was like, that's kind of gross.
Yeah, that was weird. I'm like, you can't
That was nasty.
cut some beard and make a brush?
Yeah.
Right? And especially because they show later on that like one is that doesn't have a beard is using another dude's. I don't know. So they're sitting there, and they show him, as they're giving them the tour of the workshop, they show them the toy tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Which, from perspective wise, looks like it goes on forever, right?
Yeah.
Into an infinite light, full of just toys that they've made, right? And they're like, you're going to deliver all these toys. And he's like, I can't possibly do that. And another line of exposition, he's like, both of you and your wife are going to just live forever, right? Cut to the next scene. Like, that's it. There's no excuse me, right? There's nothing.
They're like, all right.
Cut to next scene. Everybody's just asleep.
And then cut to the next scene where we have the reindeers being fed, and it looks like they're being fed pure hash. Like, that's how they fly.
No, very true. So
We just fed them a lot of weed.
I don't know what it exactly is. It's some magic powder. Basically, it's the MacGuffin of the movie.
Well, it's also what comes back later.
Yeah. It is the thing that makes them fly, but also I feel like it would be more valuable and more protected, right?
Yeah, it's just kind of like a casual, like, this is our magic dust. It's
Right.
pixie dust.
So this is a movie where, like, you wouldn't question that if you're like, okay, all elves are trustworthy and everything like that. But the fact that Patch leaves, like, basically gets taken over by corporate America and gets, like, kind of corrupted along the way.
Yeah.
You're like, no, elves are just as corruptible as everything else.
that's
You should
like-
probably have this shit on lockdown.
That's the second half of the story.
Oh,
so
yeah.
The first half of the story is like, well, there are 3 stories, I guess. But the first half of the movie is one of its own entirely, and that's just like how Santa Claus became Santa Claus.
Right.
Then we start movie number 2.
Which is?
Santa meets a homeless boy.
Well, movie number 2 is actually 2 things happening at the exact same time, which is Santa finds a homeless boy, and Santa, after 300 to 400 years, is finally getting tired and needs an assistant.
It's like,
Yeah, this is a movie that asks the question, like, is Santa tired? Yes. And does he need an assistant once he gets to around the 80s? Yes. And then how does he get said assistant? All
He's
questions nobody ever needed.
Yeah.
Like, once again, a kid was like, is Santa ever tired after a night? It's like, well, yeah, I guess so.
probably, I don't know.
Right?
Like,
Do you think he needs help? Yeah. Right. So, and then third movie is the villain, he's not even really a villain.
BZ.
Yeah, BZ, who is my favorite character in this entire movie.
Okay, in this movie, John Lithgow plays BZ.
Yes.
And I'm almost positive that his teeth are fake. But also, he does so much mouth
Well, they would
movement.
have to be fake because he's chewing so much scenery in this movie.
But he does a lot of mouth movements, like also with the cigars and stuff, and it just made me really uncomfortable. Like, stop focusing your actions around your mouth.
Oh, you mean the part where like Patch is like, we're gonna give him away for free, and then he like backs up and the camera like pans out as well, and it's just like
basically any scene he acts with his mouth. It's like when words come out, that's where I should do the movement from. It's like
okay, we'll get to him, but mind you, I want to talk about him now.
Yeah,
but we also have to point out that he doesn't come in for an hour into this movie.
Yeah.
An hour.
It's an hour and 35 minutes long.
It's an hour of things where it's like, if you even slightly know the story of Santa Claus, you got it. We don't need this.
Yeah.
Like, I'd rather have all this taken care of in like 15 minutes, like an origin, and then go into it. This is like a played out origin story, just like Spider-Man 1, where it's just like, could you get to the web swinging already? Yeah, that's what this is. Like, can you just take off in the sleigh and do your shit? Yeah.
So Santa finally gets to the 1980s, and he's flying down. He sees, well, we get the side story first. There's a poor boy looking into a rich girl's window, and then the rich girl, she has a nanny, and the nanny's like, your step-uncle, because I guess she doesn't have parents. It's not really explained.
Oh, is this a scene where
she's like,
the homeless boy is like looking into McDonald's and it's like a giant 80s McDonald's commercial? Like everybody is biting down on a different piece of like McDonald's.
No, this is whenever he's outside watching. He watches the Santa take money out of the donation box.
Yeah, this is that.
Oh,
yeah, so he watches Santa take money out of the box. He peers into a McDonald's window. And then the camera switches to his perspective.
Yeah.
And it's literally, there's like dude sipping on a McDonald's shake, dude eating fries, girl eating hamburger. Like it is straight out of a commercial. Like the only thing that they didn't do was just have like a close up of a Big Mac that like kind of slid in the frame.
Yeah.
You know, like it is so heavy product placement for no reason. You're just like, why is this in this movie?
Because we're now in America, not at the North Pole.
Right. Right.
So then the boy like sees the girl watching him, and he's like, well, I'm homeless, I'm bummed. And the girl like then makes a plate of like leftover Christmas dinner and puts it outside with the Coke. And I was like, yeah, give the homeless kid a Coke. That's exactly what he needs.
Right.
Nutrients.
Another product placement.
I know. It's very blatantly a Coke,
it is,
too.
because like she sets down a plate of like full on like, here's the turkey dinner, you know,
and then like
all
lays the can down, but then picks it up and comes back and goes, sorry, forgot to rotate the label towards the screen.
Right. Rotate it in the snow and wedge it right there. And then hold.
If we can't read it, it's not worth it.
Mind you, when they cut back to it, when he picks it up, it has rotated 180 degrees, because first it says Coke on one side, and then when you cut back to it, before he grabs it, so nobody's touched it, it now says the Coca-Cola in cursive part. You're like, all right.
Like, we want you to see all sides of this can.
We want to make sure that you knew it wasn't cocaine.
Yeah.
Like this movie's on.
Just a can of Coke.
Yeah.
Well, it was the 1980s.
Also, is it just a rule that if you're homeless, your gloves have to be fingerless?
It helps. With dexterity.
Helps.
I don't know. If your fingers have gloves.
If your fingers have gloves, so it's like each finger has a glove?
If your glove has fingers, then like you're rich. Let's be real.
Okay.
But also once my grandma for Christmas, she got me fingerless gloves, and they said MJ on the back, and I now know that it means Mark Jacobs.
Right.
But back then, I was like, Grandma, did you get Michael Jackson gloves? She was like, she's from Indiana, so she was like, I think they're Mark Jacobs, but I don't know. I was like, okay, that would make more sense. Instead of Michael Jackson fingerless gloves that are striped like gray, dark blue, and mustard yellow. I was like, Michael Jackson must have liked these colors. I don't know.
That's when I'm like, that's the same as like when I'm like, ooh, is that a David Spade purse? At least you got it.
A David Spade purse. It's so stupid.
All right.
I hate it.
So, This is Christmas Eve, by the way. So, of course, Santa's making his rounds in New York City, and he sees little Joe, and I don't know if this is his deal. He, like, does this multiple times, or, like, after years and years, he's finally like, I'm going to help a homeless guy tonight. Because he lands on a roof, like, snaps his finger, transports down to in front of Joe, and immediately, like, starts warming his own hands in front of the dumpster fire. So he, like, it is completely valid for Joe to be like, get out of here, you old drunk. Which I love. And
like, Joe, that's hilarious.
Right? Get out of here, you bum. Because that's how he talks, too. He's like, hey, Donna, dancer. Nah, it's kind of Mark Wahlberg again. Yeah. Sorry. But it works. And he's like, no, I'm totally serious. I'm Santa Claus. Clicks his fingers, then they're both transported up to the roof, and he's like, let's get in this sleigh. Right? And I guess,
trust the old magician.
Right? I guess at the same time, it's so elaborate so quickly that you're like, all right, it's you.
I'd buy into it. I'd be like, yeah, okay. And at the same time, I'd probably be like, well, I'm homeless, so he could murder me. I don't know.
That's true. But also, Joe kind of in this scene still kind of doesn't know who he is, like his deal. He's like, what are you doing out here?
Yeah.
And he's like, don't you know who I am? Like, what's going on? You know? And it takes him a while to kind of put it all together. Even by the end of the night where he's like, what, do you gotta go? And he's like, yeah, you know what I gotta do. And he's like, oh, yeah.
He's actually never heard of Santa.
Yeah.
He's just playing along. He's like, right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. You gotta go, eat the cookies. Yeah. Which I love that scene, by the way.
When they ate cookies?
No, it was like 2 or 3 scenes earlier, but where it was like somewhere in the 18th century where they wrote the Night Before Christmas poem.
Yeah.
And they got to he's like,
oh, the fat joke scene.
Yeah.
And
he's so upset. Yeah. He's literally like pissed. He's like, and a round belly that laughed, shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. And he's like, what?
But everyone else is like, they're not wrong. So
even his wife is like, it's the cookies. Yeah.
Then the next scene, he's eating 2 celeries and 2 carrots and a grape tomato.
Could you imagine if they had to change the poem because he lost weight?
Like, and Santa, who rattled like bones because he was skinny.
Looked like my neighbor, Mr. Jones, when he walked around and rattled his bones. We were like, it doesn't work as well.
Make him fat again.
People, give him extra cookies this year. So during this time, Santa decides to take Joe on a couple B&Es, and he goes into, what is her name? Cornelia.
Yeah.
Right? Now, Cornelia is the little girl that gave him food earlier, right? Mm-hmm. I love this scene because, like, Cornelia walks in on Joe and Santa, and she's like, is it really you? And I love his line. He goes, I hate it when this happens.
I know.
Right? I was like, this is literally the thing that
is your job.
Right? And how many times does this happen?
Yeah.
Right? Apparently enough that later on, I love the whole other kids denying Santa Claus and everything. We'll get to it. But, like, apparently it happens way more than we think. Right? So Santa decides to leave Joe there. He's like, yeah, so bye. I gotta go. You guys, like, hook up or something. Merry Christmas. Right? Clicks his finger, disappears, and then they're like, all right.
Cool.
Like, right?
Yeah.
And then another year goes by.
Yeah.
Just
well, like,
and he's still homeless.
Yeah. Santa was like, I promise we'll hang out again next year. And Joe was like, okay.
Right. So during that year that passes, Santa's exhausted. Yeah. Right? He's going to fall asleep in his soup. And which was like, I was like, all right.
It was like a stupid bit. Like, your beard has got green pea soup on it.
Yep. And he decides that he needs an assistant, and they're like, "Oh, 2 assistants come to mind, right? Let's have them
one more
fight
than
it
the
out."
other. Ha 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 ha.
Right.
And it's like,
Right?
I don't know what's happening.
Right?
Why is that funny?
One more than the other, and which one is that? The one that's been established in this movie because nobody else has, right? So what we did skip over is that, like, Santa and Dudley Moore's character, the elf known as Patch. Patch is kind of like a quirky inventor and has ideas to make things better around the, like, he's like, I know how to heat this place, pipes. And people are like, what the fuck is he talking about? You know? So he's one of the 2. They're going to compete to be Santa's assistant, which is like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah.
Is that a pay raise? Is that what does that exactly do for you? Or is it it just brings me more joy to be more efficient around the workshop, right? There's nothing. The only thing that you get is an apron, it seems, right? And recognition, because like nobody's like, sure glad Santa had that assistant this year. And, like, he's not going to go into the poems or something. Yeah. There's not going to be, like, Patch action figures out there. Like, I don't understand the incentive for this major competition, right? Just give it to somebody, right? Like, Santa's also hasn't been really established as, like, a lovable guy or a cantankerous type Santa either. He's just there.
Yeah.
Right? So there's no incentive to be like, I can't wait to work under Santa. Because there's, like, I'd rather, his wife seems more involved than he is in this movie.
She's dedicated.
She's
Go Anya.
She is that Mrs. Claus's real name, by the way? I don't know. Mm-hmm. All right. We didn't ask enough questions as children. We didn't care.
You're like, they didn't ask about her name. We have to make it up.
So Patch, his mentality is like more efficiency. Let's keep up with the trends that are happening in like corporate America. Yeah, let's make a wooden assembly line machine. Meanwhile, his the other person, which I've forgotten all their names, even though. Oh, can I ask this question?
I don't know.
Earlier,
I don't know if the elves are gay.
Well, they
Stop
have no
asking me who is gay and who isn't.
Right? Constantly.
Right. Can I ask you something?
Can I ask
yes,
you something?
I'm gay.
Is
Yes,
he
I
gay?
don't know if they're gay.
Right? What's your dar telling you?
The other day, someone at work literally goes, "Hey, so," and I just turned to him and I go, "No, I don't know if they're gay or not." I just walked away, and they're like, "Well, I got an answer."
They didn't even finish. They were like, "Well, he knows." Why? There's a scene the first time like the elves are like get out and they all have to like walk and work to a beat, right?
Yeah.
They get out of their bed. Why does their bed have like name plaques on it that they turn around and it's a different elf's name? Did you see this?
Yeah.
Ships?
I didn't know what they were rotating, but I was like, okay. But now maybe it's like half of them work at night and then share a bed with someone else.
That's what I thought. They're sharing
now it's your bed.
Because one says like Groot and another one's like Dopey, Sneezy. Like it must be 3 shifts because it's like a triangle plaque. It just spins.
They're like, I'm first shift elf. I'm a second shift elf.
Yeah. That was weird, right? But that was triggered because I can't remember this other elf's name that believes in like quality over quantity.
Oh, yeah. He just looks... I just remember him as like short beard elf.
I think his name was Puffy. He's like, my name's Puffy. And I was like, no,
Puffy
that doesn't work. Right? So they have a little competition.
Yeah.
Right? To see who can, I don't know, mass produce the most, or because it's like, what is Santa looking for in this moment? Is he looking for more toys, like on a faster thing? Because to me, Santa's problem is that he's tired. Yeah. Right? No matter how many toys they make, doesn't fix the tired.
Might be tired.
Right? Because that's another thing this movie doesn't really explain. It tries to explain so much, but also doesn't explain. It's like whether or not time stops or follows you or slows down or however, basically saying like you have all the time that you need.
Yeah.
How long does it take for one man to still accomplish this goal? Like, was Santa out on Christmas Eve and in real time that's like 2 months worth of work? Yeah. Like, and that even seems generous, right? Like, what is it? What is the real reason he's tired?
Beats the poop out of me.
Yeah.
Well, he's checking that list twice.
Oh, right?
That's another tiny thing. He was like, why don't we make a list of who's good and who's bad? And they're like, that's good. And he's like, I'll let you do that, Bartholomew. And Bartholomew was like, I'll go make the list. And Santa goes, and make sure it's good. I'll be checking it twice.
Yeah, because that's what the song says, right?
I'm like,
oh, wait, they haven't ruined that song yet?
Cool.
Well, make sure they put that in the lyrics. I want any more of those fat jokes. And I'll also be coming to town. Let them know that. Be coming with an army of reindeer.
They won't know what hit him. It'll probably be a wooden toy, though.
Trying to influence every lyric about him.
So then the elf that gets the promotion
is Patch.
Yes, Patch gets it. Patch has a lot of good ideas, apparently.
Right. His wooden assembly line machine.
But it's not working.
But, okay, it works
right
at first, but yeah, right off the bat. But, like, the things that it's not doing, you would be able to notice immediately.
Yeah.
It puts, it like, misaligns 6 screws on a wheel.
And it just like, okay.
That wheel wouldn't have come out at all.
Yeah.
It's just...
Well, my thing is also, it's like, you don't have, like, quality assurance elves.
Oh.
And then, so it shows a scene, all the toys are delivered, it's people playing with them the next day, and it shows just, like, toys being broken left and right, and one kid's, like, walking in the street with a wheelbarrow full of leaves, and the handle falls off, and the kid's like, well, that one's gone, but then a school bus comes and just, like, runs over it.
I swear to God, I've seen this movie
like,
probably 50 times as a child, and I do not remember this scene, right? I was in my own bedroom laughing so hard at this scene.
So good.
Because, like, they basically show, and I laughed at this scene and the immediate following scene. Because they show, here's the establishment. Basically, all the toys that Patch made throughout this year with this assembly line, Santa delivered, right? Another Christmas has gone by. And a kid is riding on a scooter with his dad, and that wooden scooter, like, wheel falls off.
Yeah.
Right? And the kid is immediately like, right? I'm like, kid's crying, already loving it. Because I always maliciously laugh at kids crying at Disneyland. I'm like, yes.
It's good. It's cathartic.
Oh, yeah. So the kid's crying, and the dad immediately is like, piece of shit, kicks it into the curb. Doesn't even be like...
The toy, not the kid.
Right. Yeah, true. Thank you for clarifying. Kicks this scooter over into the curb. Not like it's wood. I could probably fix it. It's just immediately like shitty thing, right? There's another kid on this like 4-wheeler that you can kind of like pump, and those 2 wheels just break off.
Yeah.
And the kid's like, right? And then this kid with this wagon wheel. This is the best.
Just like the handle detaches and keeps going, and the kid's like, oh, bummer city.
And the wagon, which is full of like leaves or whatever, like rolls out into the street, and a school bus just comes by and demolishes it. And the kid's like, ugh. I was like, this is completely satisfying. But then... immediately, it switches over to Joe getting his ass beat by 3 other kids.
Yeah.
Right? Because Joe's like, he's real! And they're basically like, this is the context. It's like, well, if he is, he gave us some shitty toys. Because you can't really hear you can hear a little bit of what they're arguing back. They're like beating him up, but then it switches over to the little girl.
Yeah.
Right?
And she's in ballet class because she's rich.
And you can hear what she says, like the bully girl. She's like, everybody knows that Santa gives out shoddy toys. And I was like, what? Like, everybody has turned on Santa in overnight.
And then one of the other girls is like, well, your parents are dead, so...
And this is where they start establishing that this movie is Santa versus corporate America, because the other bully girl is like, that's why my parents got me this talking toy doll that like can say like 5 different languages or something. And you're like, oh, the whole thing is that like Santa can't keep up with current toy makers. Like it really is, it becomes Santa versus like Hasbro in this movie. So I laughed this so hard because like this is a world where people kind of do believe Santa exists, and now he's not. His quality, his surveys coming back in because people return the toys.
Yeah.
They return it like he's a
Well,
business.
people somehow return the toys, and I don't know. So basically, the letters for Santa Claus work the way that, like, you write a letter to Santa, you put it on the front, like, letter to Santa, and
Yeah.
it magically goes to Santa.
Right.
They somehow return the toys. Like, maybe they put them in a pile, and
He
they're
just-
like, return to sender. And then it
Just
ends up
wrote
in Santa's...
"fuck you"
yeah.
right on the wood, and it just sent off.
But all the toys, since they're wood, they just immediately come back broken into Santa's fireplace.
Okay.
So they're like, it's a warm one. It must mean that we messed up.
Okay, yeah. If that's the process for returns, why can't that also be the process for delivery?
I don't know.
Right?
That's a really great point.
Like,
It costs more dust.
right. It's basically like Amazon now, and just right to your doorstep, but the opposite way.
Yeah.
And then I love the head elf in this moment is like, maybe we should issue like a press release or something. What is he? It says maybe we should issue a statement.
Right.
It's like, what? This is where it gets confusing because you're like, wait, they're operating this like it's an actual business because I think 2 or 3 scenes later, that's where the head elf is like, we should order the shipment of wood for this year. You're just like, this isn't. They got too literal with the need of explanation in this movie.
So because of these toys breaking, they decide to
Introduce BZ into the movie.
well, BZ, but then they demote what's his name? Patch. They demote Patch, they promote the other guy, and Patch is like, I gotta go somewhere else so I can prove to Santa that I can do good.
I don't know why Santa's so mad at me.
So
I
then,
can't do a drunken Dudley Moore, I'm sorry.
So then we get introduced to BZ, and he's in a courtroom, and they're
so
just showing
good.
how, like, this one doll is super flammable
And then the other one's full of sawdust and nails.
and bits of glass.
Like, that is an overly
Yeah.
elaborate thing to happen by accident.
Yeah.
You actually have to be making dolls with glass and nails inside them from the beginning for this to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And why would you do that?
So then the court's like, you need to remove all of your toys from all of your shelves. And it's like the day after Christmas, so it's fine.
Right.
They already made their sales.
Right.
But then we see Patch staring at the window of a BZ toy store, and it looks like things are just like flying off the shelves and people are buying a lot. And he's like, I need to talk to this guy because he'll help me out.
Yep.
And then he just appears in BZ's room, his office.
Can I, because he does it in this scene too, but Patch, stop trying to make the elf's puns happen because they're not working.
Well, he kept saying like, "Oh, I'm elf taught." So
Yeah.
whenever he would say self, he would instead say just like elf.
He goes, "Isn't it elf-explanatory?" You're
Yeah.
like, "No,
I'm
stop."
proud of my elf. It's like, God, I really hated the character Patch.
He's just,
He's irritating.
yeah, he's irritating, and he's not, I don't know, happy-go-lucky and fun enough
Yeah.
to counteract what's happening with the character of BZ,
Yeah.
which is extremely over the top. And I think he's like a Disney villain,
Yeah.
like, and it's fun. Like, he is my favorite part of this movie. I'm so sad that he only comes in halfway through this movie because he makes this movie for
Yeah.
me. I could watch this performance over and over again because he just has these hugely bellowing, loud, over-the-top
Yeah.
moments that make his character just this, I don't know, cartoon character of a villain. It's so much fun to watch.
So then, Patches decides to sell BZ on the idea that he can make the perfect Christmas present, and we can give it out for free.
For free!
And then we
I'm
just
like,
have to
yay.
play an ad on every TV, a minute-long ad throughout the entire world, and everyone will get them. You don't even have to worry about shipping.
Right.
And it's
Which is weird because, like, you're not Santa Claus, so
Yeah.
you don't get a free pass into breaking into people's houses, BZ.
But he also somehow can do the same time control thing.
Thank you.
He can
Okay,
do
I wrote it
everything-
down.
Yeah, he can do everything that Santa can do,
Right.
plus somehow produce this magic glitter.
Is it the DeLorean flying car? Is that what does it? Or is it just
Maybe.
him?
Maybe it's like that glitter stuff, because that's what they feed the reindeer.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yes, I had this question too. Patch delivers all these lollipops that are made with the special glitter to everybody's house, to the point where like Santa shows up and Patch has already been there, and he's like, "Goddamn lollipops!"
Yeah,
like they have a television in the North Pole, by the way.
Yeah,
and why are they so upset that Patch, I don't know, found a job? Like they're mad. Joe saw it on a television at a TV store.
Trade secrets.
Trade secrets.
They're letting out the trade secrets.
Fucking traitor, right? Everybody that's on the quote unquote good side of this coin for the movie is pissed.
Yeah,
like the little girl's pissed. Joe's pissed. Everybody's like, God damn it, right? For what? Like, Patch found a job. He's being successful.
Hey, Patch ruined the last Christmas and then left and, like, was like, I can do it better. And it's like, you didn't even do it good the first time around. Right. Jeez.
Yeah.
And then it turns out the lollipop makes you float in the air for a minute. I don't really know.
Okay. If you eat the lollipop, you float, like, kind of, like, hover, like, a foot above ground. Right?
Higher than that. A kid who got to the top of a cabinet.
Oh yeah, and the other kid dunked on a basketball. Yeah. That's right. But it's not to the point where and
you're
this
flying
is
off into space.
Right, and this is where I got confused because like Beezy and Patch have a discussion about like what if you like doubled the dosage or something like that, and he's like, well, obviously the kids would fly, and it's like they already are.
Yeah.
So
they're hovering. They're falling with style.
I guess so. Right? But that's the thing, and it becomes the hottest thing immediately.
Yeah.
People want more of it, which is obvious that would happen. But now, so basically Beezy's plan has worked, right? And the press are involved, and this is where I love this scene too, like the Christmas 2 scene. He basically has this plan where he's like, okay, now you're going to make candy canes this time with double the dosage, so I don't know, other than the fact that he's like, oh, the kids will fly, right?
Yeah.
But, like, BZ doesn't seem to be the smartest businessman.
Well, then he's like, so his plan is for the first year, give it away free, and then the second year, it's like, hey, you got to pay for this stuff.
Yeah, 100, 200, doesn't matter, right? And then he decides, he's like, well, screw it, the demand is here now. We're going to start production 2 weeks after Christmas and release it on March 25th, and we'll call it Christmas 2.
Yeah.
Which I love, right? Because it's like Christmas in July, just even more expedited. But it doesn't seem... I don't know why he keeps forgetting about, I don't know, not getting in trouble with the law.
Yeah.
Because it's like, what he's asking for already probably would have had repercussions. Like what happened over Christmas should have had repercussions.
I'm sure someone flew up into a ceiling fan they shouldn't have flown up into.
Something. Just the point of being like, he gave us, he basically, 1, broke into our house in the middle of the night. 2, gave us...
Well, they were okay with that because of Santa.
Right, because he's real in this one.
Yeah.
But he's giving out shitty things. So we're down for some competition this year.
Yeah.
But then also hands out a product that is not FDA approved or anything.
Yeah. Was that before the FDA?
No, they've definitely been around. But is handing out a product that's not FDA approved, but then also is causing side effects that we've never seen in a human being before.
Yeah.
Like, and then is like, we're gonna bring out more of it that has like double the problems, possibly. Like people flying is probably a problem.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't think about protecting his ass whatsoever. Right? So, but I do love his whole, like, once again, another great scene. Like, he's chewing every scene that he's in. Yeah. Right? Still not my favorite scene with him. The favorite scene's coming up.
So, next up we have, is this whenever the little girl looks out her window and sees Joe sick?
Yes, it's raining, it's pouring.
So she's
the old
like,
man is snoring. Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't resist to like finish the rhyme.
So she goes out. She's like, "You've got a fever. You need more vitamin C." And she's like, "I've got an extra room in my basement that you can stay in."
Not
and
a
then
room.
it switched to the basement, and I'm like, "It's just a basement, and you're making him sleep in an inflatable craft."
Yeah.
Craft.
Meanwhile,
Ship, boat. I don't know.
Meanwhile, Hauser, which is Beezy's assistant, comes by, and he is like, "Oh my god, I gotta talk to you. Like, there's been an emergency at the factory," and of course, Joe and the little girl. Meanwhile, we didn't establish that the little girl is the step niece, which I didn't know was a thing. To
I
have
think
a
it's
step
like
uncle.
Her, you would still call it your uncle.
Right. Yeah.
Unless your real uncle died and then your aunt remarried and you'd call it your step uncle.
You would never call it step uncle. Because
Stunkle.
Stunkle. Well, step means that marriage is involved, but for an aunt or an uncle, to have their significant other means marriage is involved anyway.
Yeah.
So it
doesn't add up a lot.
No, I think they were just somewhere. They were like, "Well, we can't have her blood related because he's so evil."
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, you could."
But that would have been better.
Right? I mean, Simba's uncle is still Scar.
Real.
So
his step uncle is Scar.
Right. So the little girl and Joe are listening on the other side of the door to their conversation, and Joe has like the most forced sneeze ever. He's like, "Achoo!" Right? He's like, "Was I loud enough? Did they hear me? Because I need to get caught for this plot to further on." And they hear the sneeze, but the little girl runs in opposite directions, so they don't see her.
Yeah.
They capture Joe, they kidnap him, and they take him to the factory where Patch lives and works.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they continue their conversation in my favorite scene, right? Because this scene has Hauser giving little points of his story as John Lithgow is like, right? And to the point where he immediately just interrupts him and he's like, "God damn it, could you just finish your story? Stop making me go, like a goddamn moron." Right? And he's like, "Okay, just one more time." I love this scene.
Yeah.
Like, it is just, it's one of those things where this movie has been so much of a drain where you're just like, something happened. And then Lithgow comes in and brightens up the entire movie for me. So what is happening is that the candy canes with the magic powder react to heat. Mm-hmm. And with a certain amount of heat applied, can explode. Right? BZ,
they lost the lab.
Right? Yeah, the lab exploded. So BZ decides to cover it up and say, "Don't tell anybody. We're still going to go forth with production, and we'll let Patch take the fall while we run away to Brazil, and because they have no expedition rules." Mm-hmm. And so now we're moved over to
the little girl.
She heard it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she decides to write a letter to Santa Claus.
Write a letter to the president. That's what I do when I'm upset. Just kidding. I would never write a letter to him right now.
And that letter comes via Santa mail, so it comes down into his chimney, and he's like, "What?
A letter already?"
Right? It's January 22nd or whatever, because they say it's 2 weeks after Christmas, right? Finally, a Christmas movie whose climax takes place mid-January. And so Santa decides to show up at her house and is like, "What's going on?" She's like, well, he's like, "You know what? Tell me on the way," because the audience already knows what's going on. So it's the first time the movie's like, no more expedition. We got to get through with this. Meanwhile, Patch has found Joe tied up. And
they're like arguing, and he's like, "I'm Santa's friend," and he's like, "You don't know Santa."
Right?
And then, like,
Santa's like my best friend.
I know. And then the statue, like, so Santa did an elf sculpture.
Oh yeah, gave Joe his first gift ever. And it looks like Patch.
Yeah, they were like, "I guess you are missing Patch, haha." Like,
right?
Stupid one-liner like that. And then that falls out of Joe's pocket, and Patch is like,
he's just carrying around a giant wooden doll everywhere he goes.
it's the only friend he's got.
It's not in his shopping cart back at his box house.
Oh. And then
Whatever.
I know. I was like, oh, sad homelessness. They don't.
I don't
listen to
know
this.
homeless kids really that aren't in some sort of home unless it's like
I thought you
Oliver
were gonna say,
Twist.
I don't know homeless kids. I was like, I don't either. So I think that's pretty good.
I'm not a homelessologist.
Yeah. So then Patch discovers that Santa does miss him. So they decide to take the sleigh of candy canes to the North Pole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'll show Santa what I've done, and he's gonna like me and bring it back. Because that's what you do.
So then
Right?
Santa and little girl, they start a chase after those two. Meanwhile, we've got John Lithgow in his...
The police are knocking at his door.
Yeah, because the little girl called the police. She was like, I called the police, but I don't think they believed me. But because of all his previous court things, the police
Right.
are like, this is real.
Yeah.
Like,
Meanwhile, they were just probably looking for something.
Yeah.
Like, to just do him in with, like, finally. So they're knocking at his door. He decides to eat all the candy canes that is in his desk drawer.
a handful, not all of them.
Yeah, right.
Gotta
I mean,
watch
he's
out.
just
He's
scarfing
developing
them down.
a cavity.
And then he jumps out the
God, I was saying the
window.
word cavity, sorry. I was like, cavity.
He jumps out the window.
And for a second, it looks like it isn't going to work. 'Cause he's
Right.
Like, oh,
Could you imagine if it didn't and that's just how he died in a kid's movie?
He died a lot worse, though.
Right?
He is dead.
Oh, he's totally dead, but somehow, like, able to
Living.
breathe and
Yeah.
shout in the middle of space.
So, ruining the ending. Basically, he eats so many candy canes, he floats into space.
Right.
And then
I would have loved it
somehow-
where it was like, see, kids, don't eat candy canes.
I would have loved it if it was like, oh, he ended up floating all the way to the North Pole, and now he's fighting Santa and trying to kill him. That would have been my favorite ending. Yeah.
You and me to the death!
So meanwhile, Santa is chasing after Patches in their sleigh, and they don't see him, but they're like, they're going to blow up. And then their thing does start to blow up, and Santa's like, I got to pull the, what does he call it?
Super duper looper.
Yeah. the Super
Which is
Duper
also
Looper,
like the name of a roller coaster.
right? Which is just like a loop-de-loop.
Oh my god. Okay, so earlier it was established when Joe first met Santa that he's always wanted to do this trick where basically all 8 reindeer in the sleigh do this loop-de-loop, right? And is like, come on, I'm going to try it, and we're going to head straight for the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
I was like, no,
I
right?
don't know what you're about to do.
But Donner, I think it's Donner, the one that can basically cover
Chickens out.
covers his own eyes with his ears, which I love.
Yeah.
Chickens out, and he's like, oh, I chickened out again. He can't do it, right? So now here's a moment where they're going to try it again for the climax for no reason, right? But with only 6 out of the 8 reindeer, because 2 are sick with the flu after last Christmas season.
So they decide to go underneath the super-powered sleigh, do a
Right.
loop-de-loop, and come back underneath them again after it's blown up and catch them. Instead of
Right.
just being like, we'll hold here, jump into our
Yes,
sleigh.
there's no need for the
Like-
super duper looper at all in this movie.
None.
Like, it's like, yay, come on, I know you can do it. And everybody's like, oh my God, Santa. It's like this Christmas miracle that doesn't need to be.
Yeah. So they go back to the North Pole, and both the kids are like, can we stay here for a full year? And Santa's just like, I don't see why not. Child labor laws don't exist yet up here.
Right?
And that kind of is it
Yeah, they just dance around, and then you see John Lithgow floating into space.
with the debris from
Right.
the cart that somehow had its
Also
debris
is
shoot in the same direction
Floating
as him.
high?
Yeah.
I don't... Right? The car also ate candy canes?
Yeah.
I don't know what happens, but that's it.
Yeah.
End of movie. So, would you recommend this movie?
I don't know. I don't think so. Like, it's just kind of, it just goes on. Maybe, like, if you're having a children's Santa party all day and you just need different
What
movies to
is a
fill the
children's
space.
Santa
I don't know.
party?
Like, if,
one kind of
Yeah.
drunk dude.
well, if it's like, hey, come to the YMCA this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you can do like Christmas shopping while we watch your kids. It's an actual thing.
That sounds weird.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Okay.
Because parents need to Christmas shop.
I guess, but
so then like they have the kids.
It's just so weird
They
because
watch
like it's
them.
like I don't know really anything about the YMCA except for the
Oh,
song.
I used to be a summer camp counselor for the YMCA.
This explains a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I love summer camp.
Anyway,
but yeah, you would play it somewhere where it's like, we just need 8 movies to fill the time, and this one's one.
Okay.
Kids would be like, this one's stupid. Let's go color.
I'm going to, and it's not about nostalgia. I'm going to say the opposite. I totally recommend this movie. It is,
All right.
it is goofy and it is drawn out, and you're just like, oh god, as an adult. But still, once you get to Lithgow, the last like 48 minutes of this movie are pure gold, because that's what this movie should have been.
Yeah.
It should have been Santa versus corporate America, like, and because this movie doesn't know when it wants to be serious and when it wants to like be fanciful and fun. So like if they went more with the fanciful and fun and the ridiculousness of what they were portraying halfway through and got rid of the whole origin,
Yeah.
this would have been a Christmas classic. But it did bomb in the theaters pretty hard, and it got scathing reviews, which I don't know about scathing. Like, I don't understand why people were as rough as they were back in the day. Like, it's okay. I mean, has
pretty
any
boring.
Christmas movie been like, absolutely yes? Like, Christmas movies kind of like are either like they're good,
Well, because they're only good
bad.
for one time of year.
that too. So, yeah, I'd recommend it. When it comes to W's, I would say just add it to your list of things that you should either put on in the background, like you said, or make it a point to at least watch the last 48 minutes. Yeah. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
Nah,
No.
me either. So that is week 2 of our holiday celebrations. Anybody who is paying attention for the past 2 weeks will know that our big Christmas event is coming up next week with our triple feature, Silent Night, Deadly Night, parts 1 and 2, and a comedy commentary presented with partnership by drinkingcinema.com for Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2. So, we'll be releasing those episodes next week. And I think we might put up the rules. Well, actually, the rules are already up. Go to drinkingcinema.com right now, and you can actually participate and play the drinking game right now. It's the first one on the list. It's it's brand new. So you can check that out. You can also reply to us, talk to us, comment, all the great things, get bonus content such as clips from the movies that we've done and pictures, all on our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And that's all at Bombs Away Show. You can also write to us via email, contact@bombsawayshow. And that's about it. Yep.
Yup.
You got anything to add?
No.
Yeah. I just hope everybody's having a good holiday. Thank you so much for all your participation, everybody that's listened. I hope that you're able to take us with you wherever you're going these holidays, and be able to listen to us on the planes, download us ahead of time. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of travel going on, and we're real happy to keep you company. So, nice and cozy with me and Jarrett.
You like that voice in your ear?
So that just about does it for Bombs Away. My name is Jonathan,
I'm Jarrett.
and we'll see you next year with Christmas 2!
Hey, this is Jarrett with the Bombs Away podcast, and we're here in the Frida Cinema recording our podcast. So the Frida Cinema is a program of the Long Beach Cinematique, and it's located here in Santa Ana in Southern California. It serves the neighboring communities, and it is a non-profit art house cinema dedicated to enriching, connecting, and educating communities through the art of cinema. It's here to entertain, and that's why the entertainment industry exists. So what they show on these screens is pretty amazing. They have things such as the Director's Series, and it features directors such as Martin Scorsese, Mel Brooks, and Lloyd Kaufman. Lloyd Kaufman, if you didn't know, did The Toxic Avengers and The Class of Nukem High. They also have something called Friday Night Freakouts, and this is presented by OC Weekly. It has films that are among the horror or sci-fi kind of genre. They've done films such as Lost Boys, Hackers, and The Room. They've also featured anime like Your Name and Akira. Some other things they do are double features. They've done things such as Hot Fuzz mixed with Shaun of the Dead, which is actually two pretty good films. They also show a lot of cool things among the lines of indie films. They have The Void, which is currently on Netflix, and they also have had Academy Award-winning films such as Best Film winner Moonlight, which I think is pretty awesome that it showed in this space before it actually went up. If you want more information about showtimes, location, and everything film and entertainment related to the Frida Cinema, you can go to www.thefridacinema.org. You can also follow on Facebook at facebook.com/thefridacinema and on Instagram and Twitter at The Frida Cinema. The Frida Cinema, for filmmakers, for film goers, and for you.
This has been a production of Big Bulb Entertainment, executive produced by Jonathan Young. For more media and information, visit us at www.bigbulbentertainment.com. Big Bulb, what's your bright idea?